Okay, we are continuing on with our video series of modernizing the MyListing demos, and we are modernizing the property demo in this video, picking up where we left off from the intro video for this series. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. So what we're going to do is work with the MyListing Project Template and just build this out as if this was a real project. Okay. So the first column here, intro and services, we don't need that for the purposes of this video series. So we're going to get rid of that column. Manage my listing column. That is if you have hired me to work on your site as part of the managed My Listing service. We do not need that for this video. So we're going to get rid of that. We're also going to get rid of the business column for the same reason. We're going to get rid of the online presence. I believe. Let me make sure about that one. Because we're mainly looking at design, right, and modernizing the design. So yeah, we don't need to mess with any of that. We don't need to mess with any of the performance. No, I'll leave that in there. I'll leave that in there because we are going to. This is going to be a product at the end of it. It's going to be what I'm calling a light starter site. So the car light starter site is already out there. So I'll leave that in there so I remember to do a couple things. Website care, we don't need that for the purposes of this video, and we don't need an exit strategy task list for this video. All right, so with this cleaned up, let's go back over to the website column and just start working through these. Email address, so that is the address that we want to put here in the WordPress dashboard under settings in general. And I'm just going to copy this from the car demo / starter site. And I'm going to show you a trick here. So in the URL, this is for you administrators out there that have clients, you can clear out the word general and the hyphen and just have options.php. This takes you into a hidden area of WordPress where you can just do a search for the word email and just put the email here in this field that you want to use for admin notifications. And now when you go back to the general settings, you can just click cancel on this link and your client won't be notified or have to approve anything. It's just, it'll just set the address there. All right, so that's that. Let me do a search for policies. Policies is coming up. Yeah, we'll leave. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we'll move this over to launch. Typically, if I would just do this right away, but for the purposes of this video series, we're just going to take care of the policies in a bit. We don't need to mess with Cloudflare here. I will do that actually on my own. So I'm going to make another column here. I'll call it off Ryan offline. I'll just call it offline, so I know to work on that when we're not doing the videos. So I'm going to move that over there. Hosting we're already good with. SSL certificate we're good with. I've already disabled all caching, so we're good. Don't need staging. Okay, WordPress general settings. So we need to set our site title. That's done under the WordPress dashboard under general. So we've got our site title of property. We're going to set our tagline. Just, you're going to want to set something different for your own website if you're building this out from scratch for yourself. Something that's got some of your keywords for SEO in there. We've got the email address already put in there. We need the site, both of the URLs. We need to check those. You see how they have just HTTP in there? These have to have an S in there so it's secure. And once we set that, and save our changes, it's going to boot us out of our site, and we need to log back in. Before we do that, we're going to set our time zone to an appropriate time zone based on our audience, or you can set it based on, if you're global, you can just set it on your location, but you want to set some sort of a time zone in there. And we're going to save our changes, and then like I said, WordPress is going to boot us out. And let's just get logged back in here. My password program is getting in the way. I'll just do a search for it. Property. There we go. Typically, I can get that to autofill. I don't know what was going on there. But anyway, we're good to go there with the general settings. So we can get rid of that task. WordPress permalinks. So we go back to our settings. We go to permalinks, and we just want to make sure this is set to post name, and it is. Media settings we're not going to worry about for this video, so we're going to delete that. We have the parent theme in place. We have the child theme in place. We have the core plugins in place. We'll add plugins as we go along, so I'm just going to delete that. Okay, next up is the color scheme. So for that, we are going to use WP Codebox. So if you look under plugins, we have WP Codebox installed. We're trying to do this site as MyListing demos are done, which is using only free solutions. Okay. So the idea here is that if you were to buy this light starter site from the club, you're not going to have to pay for anything. And most of it's just going to be using free tools. However, we are going to use WP Codebox, which is a premium plugin, and I'm going to license it for anybody that purchases this starter site. Okay, and you're going to see, if you haven't seen my previous videos, you'll understand the power of this plugin as we go along. All right, so we're going to set up our color scheme. So we're going to go to WP Codebox. I'm also going to open in a new tab, our theme tools, theme options. When you do that, you see what MyListing uses for their accent color for this particular site. And I'm going to just use that for this site. Whereas with the car site, we changed it to a lot of black and whites just for a unique take, a unique look on things, unique design. Because if you look at a lot of the car sites out there, like the luxury car sites, the rentals and the buying sites for cars or vehicles in general, it's a lot of like blacks and whites and golds, for luxury. So that's why I did that site that way. But this is great for this particular site. So we're going to roll with it. If you're not familiar, when you set an accent color here, so I'm going to change this to purple and save. When we go to the front end of the site, you're going to notice that color, whatever you change your accent color to, is going to go all throughout the site. Or I should say, in a lot of areas throughout the site. So we're following that same principle when we're setting our color scheme, whether it's using CSS or whether it's using Elementor. So you got to think of those areas outside of where MyListing is able to touch. So although you can set an accent color here, that doesn't get to all the places we need it to. There's still non-MyListing WordPress areas. Then there's the Elementor areas. Okay, so there's two areas that you have to conquer. All right, so the first one we're going to take care of is within WP Codebox. And I'm going to copy my color scheme from the car starter site, paste it in here. Before we do that, we're going to set the new snippet to have a title of global. And that's because we are applying CSS globally across the entire site. What we set here has to apply to every post, page, listing, whatever. Okay. The snippet type, we're going to change it to CSS. We're going to change where this renders to front end footer because we're dealing with Elementor and other certain plugins that require this. We need to put the CSS in the footer for it to actually take hold everywhere. Okay. We don't need to mess with the conditions builder because by default, WP Codebox is going to apply CSS across your entire site if you don't set a condition. All right. So we're going to paste our color scheme in from the car site. Our accent color in this case is going to be the same that MyListing has set here. So we'll paste that there. We don't need the accent gold for this site because that's for the car site. I'm going to get rid of that. Now we need to set our accent hover. For that, I use a tool called Hex Color Tool. There's a million websites out there that allows you to do this. But we're going to take that accent color. We're going to punch it in here. And by default, it's going to lighten or darken the color by 10%. So we're just going to click on this lighten button. And then we're going to use this 10% lighter value as our hover value. So That's the color of our items on hover. There we go. Because you'll notice here with even though MyListing allows you to set an accent color, you can't specifically set a hover color. All right. So you've got to take control of a lot of this stuff with CSS. Okay, so we have that set there and our accent hover, and we're going to use the rest of this, our blacks, our shades of blacks and whites and grays, and we're going to leave that exactly as is, and we are done with our color scheme as far as CSS goes. Just that easy, okay? So I'm going to save this, enable this. Let's go ahead and refresh the front end here. So as far as my listing goes and CSS goes, our color scheme is done unless we run across an area that we need to set something. So now when you hover over the buttons or whatever it is that has our colors, it's going to be properly set across the board. There's just the Elementor piece that we still need to take care of. So for that, we go over and we're going to just open a page. And we will just go with this first one here, which is the core add listing page. And I haven't gotten, I'm just, like old habits. I do not use this top bar here for Elementor. So just bear with me. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm not there yet. They may force us to use it in the future, but I go to settings and then features. And I like to keep a lot of this stuff turned off. So I'm actually going to while we're in here, I'm going to deactivate all of this stuff. And I never use, even on my own sites, I never use the ongoing experiments on a live production website. So I would disable those anyway. I would then come down here and we're going to turn on container. We're going to load Google Fonts locally. That's fine. Editor top bar is the one that I want to get rid of for sure. So this is fine to start. We're just going to enable containers and load Google Fonts locally for performance. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and refresh this page, and it's going to give me the old editor that I'm used to, and there we go. Okay. So now we need to go to this top little hamburger bar on the left. Open that. We're going to go to Site Settings. We're then going to go to Global Colors, and you'll see by default you have what Elementor gives you, which we obviously do not want. So we need just to punch in our colors here. So with that, I'm going to grab from our CSS, our accent color. You can also grab it from the theme options as I showed you. We're going to grab that and we're going to make that, we're going to make this our accent color. So just punch that right in there. Our primary color, we're just going to set to black. So in our secondary, we're going to set to black, and our text, we're going to set to black. Okay, that's all there is to it on that. Go ahead and save that. Now we need to go a little bit further and punch in our other colors. So bear with me just a second here. You can also, another thing you can do is we can clear these out. So I'll show you how that works. I'll show you that works just as well. So you can clear all that out. And then we need the accent hover color. So I'm going to click add color here, give it a name, accent hover. We're going to go back and grab that accent hover color. And punch that in. There we go. And we just keep working our way down. We want to fill in all of these colors right here. Okay. I'm not going to do that in this video just to keep it shorter. But I'm going to add a couple of these here, which is we're going to do our white. We're going to do our black. Okay, and then that will get us most of the way there. And then, like I said, offline, let me make a note to myself that I need to offline set Elementor global colors. Okay, so I got a note for myself to finish that. But that, folks, is pretty much the global color scheme. Okay, so I'm going to copy this accent color here. So with that accent set and our global color set, we can now go over to areas like typography. And the only thing I set here in typography for colors is I set the link. So here we can click on this little globe color, which is going to set our, it's a global color. We're going to set accent for the color of our links. And on hover, we're going to choose that accent hover. This is extremely powerful because if you set it one time, which we're doing here, if you change that color later, it's going to change it all throughout your website. You do not want to set individual style settings on individual elements, which I see all the time. People go into each button and style it differently. Each piece of text, style it differently. It's horrible for performance and manageability over time. It's just not a good way to do it. Okay. So don't do that. Let me see if there's anything else I want to set in here. Yeah, that's good there. Okay. So we have that set. We need also now to go over to our buttons, and for colors, we're going to just go with what MyListing does here, which is the white text. Our background for the buttons is going to be our accent. We switch over to the hover area, same white color for the text, but now our hover background color is our accent hover. Boom. Just like that, most of our buttons are now set. So I think we pretty much have our global colors where they need to be. All right. So let's go back over to our project template. Let's get rid of color scheme. Typography. I use system fonts because they look great just as they are, and they are great for performance. If you buy the starter site or you use one of the resources from the starter site, like the global CSS package we have here, you can just easily remove it and put a Google font in if that's something you want to do. Not a problem. So I'm going to copy that over. What this also is going to do is not only set our system fonts, but it's also going to set our fluid typography. And that is this section right here. So what this applies to, because it's CSS, it's not related to Elementor. We're going to set this up also in Elementor, but this applies to all things MyListing and all things just general website that's not Elementor related. That's the easiest way to think of it. That's what we're setting here. So if you come in here later, like I said, and you don't want to use fluid typography, which I don't know why you wouldn't, or you just want to adjust it, you can do that here. If you don't want to use system fonts and you want to use a Google font, all you need to do is just delete these lines out. It's really that simple. Okay, but at this point, that easy, we've done system fonts and we've done fluid typography. So outside of Elementor, we don't need to, anytime like we create any kind of content that's not Elementor related is now set for fluid typography and system fonts. Now we need to, like we did with the colors, we need to do the same thing over in Elementor. Okay, so we would come in here and we would go to, you don't go to typography, you go to global fonts. All right. And you would go in here and you would set this up. So I'm going to match this. I've got the car site on my other screen. And I'm going to set just one of these. Okay. And then I will do this offline. So I'm going to make a note. Elementor global fonts. Okay. So you guys don't need to sit and watch me do all of this. I'll just do one here. Okay. So I like to change this to H1. This is not an SEO S1. Okay, H1, sorry. This is just, typically like an H1 heading for SEO is typically like the larger one. So you can call this whatever you want when you grab the site. If you grab the site, it's just the way that I easily remember. You could call this extra, extra, extra large if you wanted. Okay, and call this one extra, extra, or extra, extra large, whatever it is that helps you remember how the size of these fonts. So I just like to go H1 here and then H2, and then we leave this one text and we leave this one as accent. So kind of like that, but I add more, but I'm going to do those offline just to keep the video shorter. So what we're going to do is go into H1 and we're going to change the font family. Remember, we're using system fonts. So we need to erase this Google font stuff that comes with with Elementor out of the box. We set that font family to default. We then go under size and we change from pixels. We click this little pencil icon. All right. And we just paste in our value from to match our CSS. So our font size is going to be clamp and then this value at the end. Okay. So we copy that and we paste that in just like that. Okay. So just working our way down. Here's our H2. Go over to H2. We change out that font family to just default so that we can use system fonts, change the pencil, paste that in. Okay. And then we also set, again, we look at our CSS. What are we doing for our line height? Well, 120%. So we come back here. For line height, we change this drop down to this little pencil again, and we do 120%. Also looking at our CSS, we have a font weight of 700. Again, you guys can set this to whatever you want it to be, but this is how we're going to do it for this. So we're going to change the weight here to 700. Boom. Now, just like that, we don't need to go in any longer. We don't need to switch over to tablet mode. We don't need to switch to mobile because we have fluid typography set at this level with our clamp values, our dynamic values for fluid typography. You're done. You don't have to go into all those different device sizes and set individual font size. It's just done. Okay. Offline, I will finish these up. I'm going to add a couple others like an H3, H4, and so on. But that's how you do that. Let me go ahead and finish the H2 so I know that I'm done with that. Okay, so again, we're setting this to bold, H2 bold, line height, changing to percentage, and we're using 120%. So typically with heading fonts, sizes are going to be larger. So the percentage, so the line height, so between those different headings is 120% works. If you're going to do like text, you want to do something like 150%, but we'll get to that. All right, so that's 700, and that's it. So our H1's done, our H2 is done, and I will handle the rest offline. So just that fast, we have fluid typography and system fonts set across our entire website. So whether it's Elementor-based content or not, we are done just that fast. Okay, so we're good there. Elementor plugin settings, let's go in there. So we were already there a second ago, but we're going to go back to, where is it at? Elementor and then settings. Okay, so we'll go ahead and this is fine for general. Let me pull up the car site settings. Okay, here we go. So we'll leave this as is. The integrations we'll leave as is. Under advanced, we want to disable the generator tag. And then we'll leave all of this the same. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. Yeah. Okay. We'll leave that. And then our performance. I personally, because I do performance outside, I don't want my page builder doing performance stuff. All right. Because for one, they really shouldn't get into that sort of thing. In my opinion, that should be handled with plugins that specialize in performance or professionals, experts that know how to performance optimize stuff. So my recommendation and what I do is I just disable all of this. Okay. We do this with perf matters instead. And that's my preferred way of doing it. It's just better because they focus on performance, right? So, and Perf Matters is going to be one of those plugins that is included and licensed with these sites. Okay, and then under features, we already took care of that. I do not recommend running ongoing experiments. I recommend disabling those on production websites. And then under stable features, only load what you need to load in there, okay? Load what what it's doing. So, for example, even though you see inline font icons there, you may be tempted to turn that on. Turn that on only if you know what you're doing and what to look for once you turn that on. Don't just go turning stuff on because Elementor says to turn it on. or they turn it on by default. It's not the way to do it, okay? And then if you saw my recent announcement about Editor V4, you do not enable this right now, okay? So that is the Elementor settings. Elementor site settings, let's go back into here. We've already done our global colors. We've done our global fonts. We've done what we need in the typography area, which is just to set our link colors. We set our button color, our button styling here. So we're going to leave that as default for now. We may adjust the radius and stuff later, but we're going to leave that as is for now. There is one thing while we're in here that I want to set, and we want to set our buttons typography globally. So I'm going to do that with you here. So we're going to go add style under our global typography. We're going to call this buttons. Click the pencil. And again, we're going to use fluid typography for this. So we're going to change the drop down to the pencil, paste in our clamp values. We're going to use a weight of semi-bold. And then that's it. We're going to roll with that. So now our buttons have fluid typography. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to go buttons. And now for the typography for the buttons, we're going to set globally our buttons global style. Okay. Again, great for performance, great for manageability going forward. If you ever want to change the values, you should change it once and it changes across the site. Okay. Okay. What is next here? Let's go down the list here. We don't need to mess with images. Layout, we can leave that as is. Actually, I think I changed that. I think we changed that in the other starter site. I just want to make sure these all match up. Yeah, let's set this to 1200. 1140 pixels is a little thin, like narrow for content these days because of screen sizes. So I'd say at a minimum, go 1200 there. So that is set there. Lightbox. We want to disable image lightbox because if we don't, it's going to create a weird situation in MyListing when you go to view a listing, single listing, for example. And let's say you pull up the gallery, it's going to create a lightbox, a double lightbox situation. Okay. So I recommend toggling that off and then, adjusting from there if you need to or want to. The rest of this stuff stays as is for now, I believe. I don't think I changed any of this stuff. Yeah, forms stay the same. Yeah, that's all good. Okay, so that's our site settings. Now for logo, I like to use a lot of times for these demo sites, I like to just create use the Favicon, generate a Favicon. So I'm going to go over here to this free Favicon generator. I'm going to grab my accent color. I'm going to punch that in as my background here. There we go. And this site is called property. So I'm going to change the letter to P. I'm going to change the font. This doesn't really matter as much. I'm going to just change it to Source Sans Pro. And then we're going to do bold. There we go. 700 works. The size is fine. Yeah, that's it. We're going to go ahead and roll with that. And we can just export that as an SVG. We're just going to keep it named Favicon. We're going to upload this to our site. And you'll see here, depending on your server, you may or may not be able to do that, to upload SVGs. I'm going to show you a trick. So if we edit any page with Elementor and we put anything that allows for icons, we'll just go ahead and use the icon. What did I do here? Let's go. There we go. I was not in the editor. Okay, so just anything that allows you to quickly put an icon in here. Go there, click on the icon widget. You'll see an upload SVG. You can use plugins for this too that allow you to enable SVG uploads and all that, or code snippets. The club has a code snippet for this. This is just a quick and dirty way to do this. So we're going to click upload SVG. We're going to bring that SVG in. There we go. So that is now in our media library. We can then just delete that widget from the page. Let's go over to our media library. There we go. We see it in here. And you could also use what MyListing gives you here. This is actually not a bad one. Now looking at that, maybe I'll keep things consistent. That's not a bad one though. I kind of like that one. But now you just go over to appearance and then customize. And then for site identity, we choose our site icon. We'll choose that favicon we generated. We will click on skip cropping and publish. There we go. So just that fast, we've got our favicon in there that we created. So we're going to roll with that. And that's also going to serve as our logo. So we go, let's get out of the customizer. Let's go to theme tools, theme options. Here's our site logo. We're just going to replace what's here. Actually, let me see what this looks like on the front. I actually like that. That's tough. Do I want to change this? I'll make that decision later. I kind of like that, but I kind of want to differentiate a little bit from the demos. But I think we'll roll with that. That's actually fine. I may put that back as the favicon, but I'll do that offline. I'll have a think on that. Okay, let's move on. I will do the logo. Think about the logo offline. Coming soon mode, we don't need to worry about that for this particular video series. Admin accounts, don't need to worry about that. Editorial accounts. Reading settings. So for that, we go under WordPress dashboard settings and reading. And let's go match this up with the car site. Yes, cool. So one thing you don't want to do, you want to make sure you do not set this to the blog page, because once you do that, it screws everything up with MyListing. It just doesn't work with MyListing. So you don't want to set that. Just take my word for it. Just don't set that page. Just leave it just like this. So set the home page, post page. Do not set it as the blog page. We will leave all of this as is. I'm going to set this right here to discourage search engines because this is just a test site. There's no need to have this out there on the web, cluttering everything up. So I'm just going to block it from the search engines. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that's the reading settings. Now for the discussion settings, what we want to do here is uncheck this top option here to attempt to notify any blog link to the blogs linked to from the post. That's funny. Attempt to notify any blogs linked to from the post. Okay, so that's not as bad. I just don't know how to read. Okay, we're going to enable users must be registered and logged in to post a comment. We're also going to set comment must be manually approved. So and you can adjust this obviously to your liking. Everything I do here, you can adjust to your liking. We're going to go just keep the avatars enabled by default. Instead of we're going to use a Gravatar logo for this. Check out Gravatar if you haven't yet. So rather than displaying just like a mystery person, check out Gravatar logo. So we're going to enable that. And we now have the ability within MyListing to place those reviews, to do blog post comments and things like that. So that is set up. We're not going to worry about post categories. I don't think. Did I do that with the other site? I'm already forgetting what I did with the other site, even though it wasn't that long ago. So we're going to go under posts, categories, and we will set this up. You do not want to leave the default post category as uncategorized. Set this to your site name or whatever, but just do not leave it uncategorized. For the purposes of this video, we're going to call this category 1. We're going to do another one, category 2. And we'll do category 3. Okay, so that's our post categories. And then I don't think I did anything for tags special here. Let's see, tags. Yes, I did. Okay. So we're just going to go in here, call this tag 1, tag 2, just kind of make this more generic. So, because it's a starter site after all, you're going to come in here and change this to whatever, but it just makes more sense than looking at what they have in there by default. Okay, primary navigation menu. We did this. What are we going to do here? Let's see. Appearance. I'm just looking at the other site here. We're probably just going to match this up. Yeah, we'll match this up here together. So let's go ahead and do that. Appearance, menus. We're going to adjust the switch over to the main menu, the primary menu, select that. All right. Home, we're going to just leave as is. That's fine. We're going to just take out all of these Explorer pages, the individual Explorer pages. We don't need to have all of those in there. We don't need this listings menu. Okay, so we're going to have home, explore, and then we're going to have more. We're going to have a page called how it works. So I'm going to add that page right now. All right, so then we're going to go and, oops, I don't know what I did there. Let's go over here. Let's add another page, which is going to be pricing. Got to have those front-facing pricing pages, people. MyListing does not give you that out of the box. You need to have those. Okay, so we're going to publish that. We're going to add another page called support. We're going to have our blog is going to be in here, which we already have. Our shop page is already in there. That's cool. And then contact. So we need to add one more page. And again, with the full starter sites that I build, we have a lot more pages than this, but this is a great for the light starter sites to really get you a great starting point. Okay, we need that contact page. People need to reach out to you. MyListing does not have that by default. Okay, so now we have those pages created. Let's go ahead and refresh here. Let's finish building out that menu. We're going to add the how it works, pricing, support, and contact pages. We're going to drag those in order to match the previous light starter site. So how it works, pricing, support, blog, shop, and contact. Okay, we're not going to do the add listing in here because that's already a CTA in the menu. Okay, so we've now matched up with our other site. We're going to add some icons in here. Just matching these up. So we're adding a little icon right in front of the menu titles. Before I finish here, let's go ahead and let me make sure. Okay, cool. I'm going to make sure I have a tab open where I can show the before and after. So let's go back over here and finish putting in our icons. And you can use the MyListing shortcodes option or whatever, however it is that you like to add icons to your site. But the MyListing gives you a nice, convenient way to add icons using their shortcode generator. Okay, one more. Yeah, so if you go under theme tools here and then shortcodes, that's where you can generate your own icons that you want to use. Okay, saving our menu. Okay, so this is the before, and now let's refresh this. This is our after. We're going to have the home page, the Explorer, and then under more, And those icons you notice are not appearing. We're going to take care of all of that. Yeah, nice, simple, clean menu. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that is done. I will style all of that up. That will all be styled up. So the main thing is just getting those pages and stuff in there, those links. The Favicon we've already done, so we're good there. Elementor Pro custom header, we are not doing that for this video series. We're just going to roll with MyListing's default header. Elementor Pro custom footer. So yeah, I do not recommend you use MyListing's footer. So we're going to go under theme tools, theme options, footer. We're going to disable the footer. Just disable all of this stuff here. The only thing that I do like to use is this back to top menu button. So I keep that enabled. I clear out this footer text and save changes. Because otherwise you get this right here, which is, I don't understand that footer at all. It's not the end of the world down here with these buttons and stuff. That doesn't look terrible. But we're going to build a custom footer. Okay. So that's the before, and let's go ahead and save changes, refresh. So now we have this down here, which actually isn't the footer. So we come over to the home page. And we just take that section out and save. So now we've effectively cleared out anything that looks like a footer with MyListing, and we're going to build our own. Okay. So this is for me to do offline, build the custom footer. I'll take care of that. Chat widget, we're not going to worry about for this video. Transactional email. What I do, because, for what I do for these sites is I put in MailPoet, the free version of MailPoet. So I will take care of that offline. If you buy the starter site, you don't have to use MailPoet, but it works. I use it for all my sites because it works really great with WooCommerce. It's free. So it's going to allow you to send those emails that are like password changes, order notifications, all of that stuff. I use MailPoet for that. It's dead simple to set up. Okay. I will take care of that offline. Newsletter, the same thing. MailPoet takes care of that. So I will do that offline. I'll put it in the offline column. I might bring it back for another video, but it's just a reminder for me to know what to do there. Testimonials, we're not going to worry about. I think actually this has testimonials in it. Okay, this does have testimonials, so we will address those. Okay, I will put that in the offline column. Backup plugin, we're not worried about that. Security plugin, we're not worried about that, because whoever buys the site is going to do whatever the heck they want with security and all of that. So I don't bother with that. 404 page, I'll put that in the offline column. Some of these things we may do together. I'm just putting them over there. Contact form, same thing. Okay, WooCommerce, we have the plugin installed. Let's go over to WooCommerce and settings. And you would come in here and you would fill out the general settings in here. I'm going to match this to whatever I did to the car site. Okay, and we're going to put this here. We're just going to leave the default state and here in the US for. We're going to sell to all countries, ship to all countries you sell to. A lot of people with MyListing don't do any shipping, so I like to just disable this. It's just one less tab, one less thing to worry about. Okay, we leave all of this the same. Yep. Obviously, you can come in here. We're going to change to whatever you want. We're going to set this to 0 decimal points for the pricing for the decimals. And that is it for the general tab. Okay, for the products tab, one of the things that I like to do is set a default product image here in the placeholder image. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that for this particular video series because we didn't do it before. But you can set an image here. And then what this is going to do is every time you create a product, it's going to apply that default product image to all your products so you don't forget to put at least something in there. Okay, we are going to have the shop page by default. We're actually going to redirect. So if somebody adds something to a cart, we're going to redirect to the cart page to get them set up into your checkout mode, if you will. They can always get out of it, but it gets them into that checkout mode. All right, so that's it for the general tab there. Oops, save our changes. And as the product template, it literally walks you through everything here. The various tabs that are in here, it tells you what to set and all that. I just know off the top of my head because I've done this so many times. Inventory, a lot of my listing websites don't mess with inventory because it's not true stores, if you're selling products like physical products. So I like to disable the stock management. Obviously turn it back on if you want. We then skip over the downloadable products, approve download directories, and under advanced, we don't set anything there except for use the product, enable table usage. So this is going to help a bit with your site. So we enable this top setting. Use the product attributes lookup table for catalog filtering. Okay, I'll let you guys research that. But that takes care of the products tab. We no longer have the shippings tab because we're not doing shipping. For the payments tab, go in there. Over here, I like to set. I like to use Stripe personally. If I could get away with not using PayPal at all, I would. But it is what it is sometimes. For this site, we are just going to use take offline payments. Okay, and we're going to set cash on delivery here. And this is just for allows you to easily test a demo site, the purchasing, right? You can drag these around to give preferences on how they appear, but because this is the only offline payment option we are allowing, it doesn't matter what position it's in because it's going to appear first, but just letting you know that you can do that. Going back here, you can also drag this to the top here. So if you did have PayPal and Stripe and whatever else, you could do that here. We're not going to set up any of this stuff here. Okay, so we're just going to ignore that. So that takes care of our payment tab. The Stripe payment method, I don't think I installed this on, did I install this over here? No. Cool. All right. So we're not messing with Stripe at all on these. And the full starter sites, I do install the plugin and set that up and get the initials, what I can set up, because you ultimately as the site owner you have to set up your Stripe account. Okay. Accounts and privacy tab. So for this, let me just make sure I'm matching up all of my settings again. All right. So we are going to allow people to log in during checkout. So we check that box. And for GDPR and just for good privacy reasons anyway, you want to allow people to request that they erase all of their data when they want to stop using your site, when they want to stop being a customer or a user. So we set that up. Next up, under the emails tab, you want to come through here and set up what notifications that you want to receive. Obviously, if you get the starter site and I'm not helping you set it up, when you'll see an email address here for the recipient, which is what I set previously over under settings in general. So when you go to update this email address with your own, this is going to automatically populate here. Okay. Scrolling on down here, you want to set the email sender options. What I say here is My Listing Club and then the name of the site. We changed the from address. Again, this is going to vary depending on who owns the website. I'm just going to set it to that other address I used. And here you can build this out. This is a newer feature of WooCommerce where you can actually see a preview of how your orders are going, your order information is going to look. and all of these different things, new account, all of the different notifications. You can get a preview of what they're going to look like. We've got a little bit of responsive settings here, whether it's desktop or mobile. We also have the ability to send a test email. So that's a really, really cool feature. But you can build this out, set your font, family, the footer text, all of that sort of stuff. So in the footer here, I'm going to put in, so we don't want it to say built with WooCommerce. We want it to say something related to your site. So I'm going to set this to be the proper URL of this site. So property.mylisting.club and a link that says visit our website. And that's not down there yet. Let me go ahead and save these changes. Let me see if that updates. There we go. So this is the link we add, visit our website, and it's going to go to your website. And then you can adjust all of the colors down here. The first one we want to mess with is the accent. So we're going to go back over to our theme tools, theme options, general. I'm just going to grab that accent color. We'll drop that in there. And then you can see the changes start to take hold. Okay, so we see the links colors are changed. This right here has changed. And then you can adjust this as you want. So I set this to black just to match the rest of our site color scheme. Okay, we leave these other colors as white, and then we leave this bottom kind of grayish color here and save changes. Okay, so that is it for our emails. Now, if you're using MailPut, which I recommend for sending your emails, again, for transactional email, which we will do, you can actually configure templates, more robust templates for your site and all that good stuff. Okay. So that takes care of the emails tab. We do not need to worry about the integrations tab. We go to the advanced tab. Another new feature I'll point out of WooCommerce is the ability to set a coming soon page here rather than using a template or rather than using like a template with Elementor or whatever. You can just do it right from here. So by default, it's going to be activated. It's only applied to the store pages only, but you can toggle that off, and at which case it's going to apply to your entire site. So let's just see what that looks like by default. This is what you get, okay? And you're going to need CSS to style this. So it's one of the reasons why you may not want to use that. I have not looked at it yet, but I'm pretty sure you need CSS. I don't think they give you a way. You can follow this link and maybe it'll tell you, but I don't think they give you a way to style this. It says, let's see, what's it say? Customizing the coming soon page. Fully customized. Oh, and the site editor. Okay. For more information, please visit customizing coming soon template. Okay, maybe you can. Oh, broken link. Yeah, anyway, long story short, it looks like you might be able to do that with more ways than CSS, but we're not going to worry about that for this video because we don't really care about the coming soon in this case. So what I did with the other site was, let me see what I did here real quick. Yeah, that's all. I didn't do anything. I just set, I just left it wide open because again, we're blocking search engines from crawling the site and all of that. So we don't need to worry about it. Okay. So what I did on the other site is I just set this to live, took that off there. Okay. Moving over to the advanced tab, you want to make sure that your cart page and your checkout page are specified here and your My Account page are specified. That should be the case by default, which we see here. We need a terms and conditions page to display here. So I'm going to go pages, add new. All right, publish that page, refresh these WooCommerce settings. Choose our, let's go back to the advanced. Let's choose our terms and conditions page. There we go. And that's all we need to do under this particular tab. We don't need to mess with the REST API. We don't need to mess with webhooks. Let's go ahead and save our changes here. Under the WooCommerce.com tab, again, let me match up what I did here. You can allow tracking. So like when an order is placed, you can see like where they came from if you don't have your own analytics and stuff set up. So that's nice for those occasions. And then display suggestions if you want WooCommerce to kind of give you some ideas on what you can do. I like to uncheck that. And we leave it just like that. Next up is the features. And I think we just roll with the defaults here. Yeah, we'll just roll with the defaults on this. Okay, so that takes care of that. While we are in here, we're not doing subscriptions because again, we're trying to follow the practice of the demos, which is to not use subscription-based products. So we do not have to set that here. Okay, one final thing for the policies, and then I think we're going to call this particular video a wrap. It's already going on an hour. So we go to our pages. We have a privacy policy page. Let's go ahead and take this out of draft. Let's publish it. And then we want to set that privacy policy page in WordPress. So we go to Settings, Privacy, and then there we go. Make sure that page is specified there, and we are good. We'll set up the policies later, and I'll show you how to do all of that. But this is a good stopping point. I'm going to think about these offline items here and think about what I want to do if I'm going to do any of this live with you guys. Otherwise, the next up, we will move over into the My Listing column and see how far we get. All right. Hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it, and I will catch you in the next one.